and Smog Fantasy Cast. And we're here to talk about fantasy football. So excited.
I am
How
so
are you
excited.
guys doing? I'm not.
It's a bitter feeling.
It was a bad week for me. That's all I care about right now. I don't care that Phil is looking pretty for a championship. I don't care that Cole won a pizza. I don't care. I don't care that I'm buying the pizza. What I care about is that my season is pretty much over in this league. And I need to vet here, guys. I'm in 3 leagues, 3 fantasy football leagues. My redraft league in my neighborhood that I was the champion of last year, I missed the playoffs by 8 yards. And this was the scenario going into it. I was talking to a few of you on Xbox going into the week before playoffs, what I needed to happen to make it in. I needed either Kyler Murray to score 14 points and I would make it in, or I needed Ramondre Stevenson to score 5 points and I would make it in. This is the week that they both got injured in like the first quarter. Both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them go down in the first quarter, and I miss by 0.8 points the playoffs. Then this league,
Preach, brother.
I thought I had a chance, and we'll get into it when we go through the matchups, but the game scripts that took place last week were such just BS that, like, things shouldn't have been happening the way they were. I thought I had a chance, and it ended up not being so, and I'm not happy about it. So I am sitting out of the playoffs. So are you, Cole.
Yeah, the bottom
Phil,
fell out on that one. Yep.
Yeah. Phil, you're in it. How do you
I'm
feel?
in it. I feel fantastic right now. Unfortunately, I feel like I have a really good shot at the whole thing now because of Tanner's unfortunate situation with his whole team going down last week and still pulling out the win to upset you to get into the playoffs. I'm very happy to be playing him and not you right now. So I feel pretty good.
Yeah. I'm guessing with what Tanner's team is looking like, it's nice to make the playoffs, but maybe the draft pick would be a little nicer to have. But hey, he can still get third, right? Like, he might get Jalen Hurts back next week, which is certainly a bump. So, there's maybe next week, maybe he can pull out a third. And absolutely wild things happen where he could beat you.
Right. Purdy could go off.
Playoffs do not follow a script. They are chaos. You can think and you can feel, but regular season has no weight at all. So
That's right. That's right. But we do have two different playoff scenarios happening right now. And we've got the actual playoffs playing for the championship, but we also have the consolation bracket of everyone looking for a little bump to their morale despite not making the playoffs, and that is going to consist of 4 of us who will be playing for that number 3 spot. We'll go through those matchups also as we look forward, but let's go back and see how we got to this week. Looking back at last week, we talked about you and I, Phil. We had a matchup. If I won, I was in. I was going to be in the playoffs. And it was all going to be decided by the end of the late afternoon games. By 3 o'clock, we were going to know, or by 6, we were going to know what happened. And we were coming down to like the last like 7 minutes of the fourth quarter in all of the games, and I was still sitting on like a 10-point lead.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, apparently Latavius Murray decided to have the game of his year, putting up 20, gets a late touchdown. Austin Eckler gets a late touchdown, and then Mike Williams got some late scores, and that led to Mr. Dicker getting a field goal also. So you got all these points in the last like 7 minutes of the game. And that was the death of me. I was stressing the whole time. I thought maybe I had a chance. There was actually a point where projections were favoring me quite a bit, and it all fell apart once I think you ended up getting like 3 touchdowns in that last fourth quarter. And that ended me.
Yeah, and
I am dead.
And the thing is, like, I was slightly rooting for you because I wanted... Because I was afraid of Jalen Hurts and Jonathan Taylor, but now I'm so glad that that's not how it worked out. Unfortunately,
you don't have to be afraid of those guys.
No, not when they're out.
No. Cole, you had a matchup that wasn't necessarily as huge. Like, if you had won, then if all sorts of shenanigans had happened, you would be in. And you certainly put up points to do it. You scored 161 against Joe, beating him 161 to 124. That at least has to boost your confidence going into this consolation bracket of looking at that number 3 pick. That'd be pretty nice. But my question to you is, I haven't looked at your roster. Do you hold your number 1 pick?
I do.
Or are you winning for somebody else? It's yours.
I do. I have my own pick for next year.
Okay.
And then I do not have my first round for the next year. But
okay,
yeah.
So
but I'm playing for my spot. Yep.
And you got the performances you needed last week. Josh Allen went off. Derrick Henry did his thing. Tony Pollard staying consistent. Dotson, you like to see him coming back and starting to look good again. And then, Kittle showed up very strongly. And really, you didn't have any real duds out there. You had a great week.
Thank you. Yeah, no, the scenario for me getting in was both a Tanner loss and a loss for your team. Plus, I had to gain 90 points on you, which I actually gained, I believe, 50 points on you. So that was not really in sweat territory for you. I would have needed my kicker and defense to throw up another 20 each, and then we could have talked. But that would have been the greatest fantasy football week in our league history. So, yeah, that was a little outside the cards. But, yeah, you're right, Nick. It's nice to see some late production. It's nice to see my team competing this year as opposed to last year. And kind of at the beginning of the season, you guys did not think I was going to be where I'm at. So I'm definitely thankful for some good performances here. And I do see a couple of great matchups coming into these consolation brackets. I mean, consolation, sure, but it feels like playoffs for us, right?
I very much so want to win. So, yeah. It matters. That's for sure. But that was not the only matchup. We did have the back-to-back face-off that these two are going right up against each other. Phil, if I had won, I didn't realize this, if I had won, the playoffs and Week 15 would have both been rematches of the previous week, because Ben and Michael just played each other, and now they're playing each other again. If I had won, it'd have been you and me playing each other again. So that would have been kind of funny. But alas, that is not the situation. But last week, Michael did beat Ben. He put up 136 to Ben's 108. And as always, Jefferson putting up big points. Chase had a pretty just kind of average game for him, getting 15, but Mr. Kirk Cousins, Christian McCaffrey, Donovan Peoples-Jones is apparently the dude in Cleveland for Voldemort, I guess. I don't know. So his team is playing well, and Ben's team, a little bit of an off week. Like Nick Chubb has been oofta. DK was not doing very well, but San Francisco was tough. So it was kind of a difficult week for Ben. But we'll talk about it. They have their rematch. We'll see if he can flip the script on him.
Yeah, I think a lot of down weeks for some of his players. He instead of Burrow, he put Tua out there. There was, and Higgins was on his bench, so Waller instead of Schultz. There's a couple of things he could have done, but it didn't. In the end, it doesn't really matter because they're gonna face each other this week, and it all comes down to this week, not last week.
That's right. And the matchup I was sweating over until like halfway through, it got decided relatively quickly. Jordan versus Tanner. I was really hoping Jordan can pull out a win, and then I would have made it, but alas, that did not occur. Daniel Jones did not come through and save him with Mike White and Lamar being out. Miles Sanders, just the stinker of stinker games.
Yeah.
He tossed out Jameson Williams, which is going boom bust. So I get it. I definitely get the play. But in the end, Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor, and those David Montgomery performances for Tanner were just too much to overcome.
Right. Yeah. Miles Sanders has one reception for negative 13 yards. Did he forget what side of the field he's running to, or what?
I can't remember. And that might be the play he fumbled on, too.
Ugh. That's terrible.
Just brutal.
Him and Jacoby Myers must have made a game plan this last week. So, if you saw that game-ending play.
God. Just ridiculous. And finally, our bottom two teams in the league faced off against each other. Coincidentally.
Points.
Yeah. 119 for Tyler, putting up a very solid week. And 135 for Ethan, coming out with a win to finish at 5-10. And here's the thing. So we've talked about this. I think Tyler's team is on an upward trajectory, especially as long as he sits on that number one pick. He will be having Bijan Robinson join his roster, I would assume. So seeing 120 out of his team is encouraging. Ethan, I think, has a good team, and him getting the number 2 pick is scary to me for what his team will be next year, especially with Cooper Kupp coming back and everything. Like,
I think he'll have
a big
bounce back year.
He's going to have a big bounce back next year, I think.
Ooh, Tyler. If he just played Zay Jones over Lazard. It's too bad.
You smell that too, huh?
It's smelly.
What?
It's so smelly. It's oh, it's a bungle. The biggest bungle.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, 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 bungle over here. I'm a bungle.
Merry Bungle.
Yeah. Zay Jones apparently deserves to be in starting lineups all like for now. And here's the deal. Like, he is on a 2-year deal, so he might be relevant again next year. So that might just be a very solid player that he maintains on his team moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is looking good, and he might keep getting better. So there's no reason to start selling these wide receivers for Jacksonville, or even Evan Ingram might have a better year next year. So,
yeah, I agree. But that is last week, and who cares about last week? Because now it's playoff week. The playoffs are here. But before we talk about those, let's look at some transactions. Let's look at what people have done to make themselves better not only this week, but maybe it is starting to be that time of the season now that everything has kind of been solidified a bit into where people's futures this year are looking. What are people looking to next year on that waiver wire? And did you guys take a look at some of these that were going on this week? I thought we had some interesting pickups going on.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys see out here?
Cole?
I didn't see much. Phil, I'll go ahead.
All right. Terrace Marshall for next year. Rasky picked him up. It's fine. He could do something. I think Zach Moss getting the backup for Jonathan Taylor was good for Tanner, although he's not playing him. That's pretty good. But most of it is like defenses that I really liked. Bengals. I picked up the Jags. Yeah. Did you see anything else? Rashid Shaheed. I didn't even see that until just now. Boggle Slim picking him up. That's good.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah, the Saints' #1 receiver.
That's right.
That's right. No, I mean, he's super fast. He seems to be involved, so we'll see what he is. The one I was excited about that maybe I'm just overly high on is I was really happy to grab Chig.
Okonkwo, yeah. That is a good one. He's been looking pretty decent this year, to be honest. I mean, as far as tight ends go for rookie tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was the one I was excited about. That was when Joe picked him up. That was a moment of like, for me, I was like, God, I should have grabbed him. I hate that he's out there. And then when he was dropped, I was like, okay, I have no fab. There's no way I'm getting him. And I was very happy. Apparently, I'm the only one who is in on Okonkwo, and I will take it.
Yeah, in the rearview mirror, I should have probably just dropped Gesicki for Okonkwo. That would have been better. But I have no fab either, so you might have gotten him anyway.
No, and I do. I like Okonkwo's name. I like he's got great raw talent. The downsides is kind of just being part of the Tennessee offense. Tannehill's not super efficient. He's a good game manager. He's a good quarterback, but he's not a great fantasy option usually for you. And, that whole offense is built around the run. So the involvement is kind of the only issue you're going to see with him. But, I mean, you've seen him on the field already in the last 2 or 3 games. He can put up some pretty spectacular numbers and the plays. There's definitely good future for him. I agree with you, Nick.
Yeah. Well, and here's the deal. Tannehill won't be their quarterback because their quarterback will be Mr. Jimmy Garoppolo next year. Call him a shot right now. Jimmy Garoppolo is the
That'd be a great move.
Titans quarterback next year. Put it on the board.
That's fair.
Okay, so that was it. We don't have any trades or anything like that. But what do you guys want to get into right now? Or do we want to talk? Cole, we had discussed. Do we want to reflect on this year? We're coming to the end of not only this season of fantasy football, but we're coming to the end of 2022. And as we come to the end of the year, I always think it's good to look back on the year think about what you've accomplished, what things you would like to improve on, where you started, and where you're going. You know what? What do we all think about what has happened for us this year in some of the assumptions we made? So, Cole, you had pulled up what we all thought of our league going into the season. Who was going to be good? Who was going to be okay? Who are the future champions? Do you want to run through that? Do you want to pull it? Let's run through those. And why don't you lead us through this endeavor, Mr. God, I can't. Oh, it's killing me. I was trying to make a
nickname on the fly.
No.
Oh,
It's a Wonderful Life. You guys ever watch It's a Wonderful Life?
Long time ago.
Come on.
You'd have to tell me about it. I don't remember much of it.
Classic, like Christmas movie. Anyway.
Yeah.
You got it. Let's go. Run us through
Sure.
it, Cole.
I got you, bud. I'll just start us off. At the beginning of the season, you and Smog sat down, made your guys' power rankings, both set, your numbers assigned to everybody, and then did a consensus rank. And let's just start at 10. You guys had Tyler picked at 10. So, way to go on the pick there.
That's a
sorry
point for us.
Yeah. Way to go for that. But then, sorry, Tyler, for where you ended up. And obviously, we've seen in the last week for you, Tyler. Future's looking good. You got the number 1 overall pick. You're going to get assumption. You're going to get a great piece at running back, and signs are pointing up. So, way to go there. Nick, you want to talk about? Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to jump in on that and just say, Tyler, if you are listening, do not accept anything more than 2 firsts and more for that number 1 pick.
Yep.
You need two high first round picks and like a startable running back. I wouldn't give it up for anything less than that. Just saying.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Nick, what do you think about who we had ranked at 9 in the preseason?
I don't have it in front of me, but I can go based on what my brain is saying, and I think it's you. I'm assuming
Correct.
we had you 9th. And
finished out at 6.
Yeah. So 3 points not to us, or at least we'll just say no point to us, right? We were wrong on this one.
No points.
You were very competitive all year. And here's the thing is like, you made your big move early with me. You went and got Derrick Henry, right? Which he's been fantastic, and that was a slam dunk move for this year, right? But then you made 2 other moves that in the preseason I really, really liked were for Hunter Renfrow and Brandon Cooks, who going into the season, I was like, those are going to be contributors. And they ended up not being. So to me, the fact that your team... Yeah. So to me, the fact that your team actually was competitive as it is with those guys being nothing is like huge props to you of like you continue to do more and more. So I think you did a lot of great stuff this year. And what are you sitting on for futures here? What are your picks looking like next year? Do you got first, seconds? How are things?
Yeah,
looking?
so I have a first this year, upcoming year, 2023, my own first. I've got 3 second-round picks. I've got Jordan's and Ben's, and your third and another third. So I'm very draft-heavy. So you're going to see a lot of names come in my direction next year. And then the following year, I got a first overall and another 3 second rounds. So these next 2 drafts, my team's going to be getting younger. Maybe more talented, hopefully more talented.
It's the goal.
Yep.
No, but that's a lot. Like, you can bundle a few of those seconds to move up into a first or something like that. Like, you can
talk
continue
trades.
to make moves.
We'll talk trades.
Well, you're not getting mine because I'm going to get the number 3 overall pick, so it's fine. But,
Never say never.
yeah. But no, you did a lot. You did a great job, and I like your team.
Thank you.
Who did we have at 8?
Jordan and Ben were tied at 7. So maybe, Phil, you want to speak to either Jordan or Ben?
That's right. They were tied at 7. I think Jordan ended up at 7. That's a point.
That's a point.
That's a point for us.
There we go.
I'm keeping score on this very technologically advanced scoreboard here.
That's the number of points against us we have to consume.
That's right. So Jordan, we got correct. Ben, we got far from correct. He's in the playoffs right now, and we had him at 7. His team has just been very, very good. Diggs has been awesome. Metcalf has been pretty good, but like Higgins and Burrow have been super good. Nick Chubb to start the year was awesome. Then he went and traded for Aaron Jones, I believe, right? From you?
Mm-hmm.
That has helped him out a lot with depth on that in the running back position. He's been awesome this year, and I'm scared to face him or Michael Tweeden next week because I'm going to. Come on, sorry Tanner, but
yeah, we all know.
Yeah.
I agree. And Cole, do you want to talk about Jordan's team? Why don't you give us the rundown on what happened there?
Sure. I mean, we had him at 7, right? And he finished at 7, so points for you guys. But you did not see the beginning of his year kind of. I mean, he started with 3-1, or was he 3-0 right away?
I think he was 3-0 right away.
Yeah,
he started
3-0.
He started off strong, and I believe on our Week 4 power rankings we had him quite high. Let's see, I can go back and look. Week 4, we had him at number 1. So I mean, obviously at that point, how do you not if you're starting 3-0? But he's got a lot of players that are young, a lot of young wide receivers. So I mean, he's going to have spike games like that just because these players are new to the league. They're getting a lot of deep targets because they're still fast and young. But, I mean, each one of these pickups he had in the first round from this last draft have some serious potential for next year's outcome. So he's locked in at 7 this year, but next year I wouldn't even start him off at 7. I'd go 3 or 4 maybe.
Yeah, I agree. I've talked to Jordan a little bit about his team, and like I know Jordan like always is competing so hard. Like he's never a guy to like even halfway through the season just like turn it off and like decide he's going to start playing for next year. I'm not talking tanking, but I'm saying like be committed to making future focused moves. Like he might be making moves that are good for his future, but not like selling for like very much so for the future. He's still always competing, and he finished in a competitive spot this year. And I know his team was not built to compete to this level this year, so I always give him props for that. And look, Wilson is a slam dunk, and Drake London, if they can ever get a competent quarterback, I think Drake London is going to be awesome because we saw how good he can be. So I agree with you, Cole. Those 2 first picks were slam dunks. I think you nailed it on those.
I agree.
And at the 6th spot here, we have our current number 1 spot in the playoffs, Mr. Phillip.
Yes.
How did you get here? Nick, you want to talk about it first?
How he got.
Yeah.
I'll talk about how you
Thanks,
got here.
Nick.
I'll talk about how you got here, and I think this is a pretty easy statement for me. I like to say that champions, they rise up and they are built on the back of titans. And that makes me a titan because I made you into the future champion that you will be with the Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce trade. It hurts me a little bit because had I not done that, I would very possibly be sitting right where you are, at least in the playoffs, right?
Right.
I think your team still was a little bit more built for it this year, but they absolutely took you to the promised land.
Absolutely.
And those guys are absolute studs, and I don't see anything getting in the way of it for you. You have no weak points in your starting lineup, and absolute studs at it wasn't just them. Like, you also have Eckler and Mixon and Mahomes, and like, it wasn't just those guys. Those guys just took you over the top.
Yep, absolutely. No, I mean, if I was stuck with Kyle Pitts all year, it would, I'm still sad to see him go because he's got like 15 years ahead of him, and he's going to be, and he's just a freak athlete. He's going to be good. So, so that's good for you, Nick. But obviously this year he's didn't do anything. So that would have hurt me immensely, and I would have lost at least 2 or 3 more games than I already had lost. So, yeah. So thanks, Nick. Help me out there, and I'll try and bring home a trophy. If I don't, that'll be very sad.
I just got to jump in and say this. If you do take home the trophy, put your name on it. I hope Ethan
Absolutely
has
will.
put his name on it. I don't know if he did or not. I sent them the link to order them. You got to throw the name on there. You got to get it on there.
Absolutely.
Agree.
But I think you're going to take it, and we'll talk about that. But Ethan was tied in our preseason rankings with Michael for our number 4 spot. He was our champion last year, and he falls down to 9th place this year. Cole, do you want to talk about that? What happened?
Well, first things first, Cooper Kupp. That started off so strong and ended so fast. That is a easy 100-point hurdle that could have got him maybe even playoff contention. He had Odell Beckham not sign, not get healthy this year, so that's also unfortunate. He's had Kyler Murray be kind of banged up for a good chunk of the year. I think even though he's maybe played 6 or 7 games, he's been pretty unhealthy, and now he's out for possibly the remainder of the year. So it's an injury situation because the talent is there. He's still got Allen. He's still got Hill, Waddle. Hawkinson's proven good in Minnesota. He's got some younger running backs. So, and easily could have finished the year at 4, if not higher. That's why we had him there. That's why you guys picked him. And I think we just see how close some of the teams in the middle of our pack were for our preseason rankings, and also we're seeing how all fantasy years go. 1 or 2 players is the difference from a championship team versus the bottom team. So, Phil, you feel the same way about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's really unfortunate. I mean, Keenan Allen he had for the whole beginning of the year wasn't there. He had a lot of injuries, so I think next year he'll be right back at the top. Not maybe not the tippy top, but he'll be up there.
And tied for 4th, we mentioned Michael, right? Mm-hmm. And he was tied for 4th and finished. Did he come in? I came in 3. He's in the 3 spot.
He's number 2 with 10-5, 1 win less than me.
The 2 spot. So we were off on that, but we did have him making the playoffs. So I'll take like half
point.
That.
Half point.
We had him making the playoffs, which he did.
Sure, half point.
Phil, what happened here? Hey, what happened?
I mean, his team has always been good. I think I've been up a little bit more on him throughout the year. But but the depth hasn't. We always go back to his depth isn't good. One person gets injured, two people get injured. He's out for the year. But he had one injury, Breece Hall, but then McCaffrey got traded, and then his backup became relevant as well. So what was it, Deontay Foreman? Isaiah Pacheco's been fine, so that's helped him out too. And Christian McCaffrey hasn't been hurt. I just jinxed him just with that sentence there. And then every other person on his team is very good. So I am not surprised to see him here at all.
Yeah, he definitely, for the team that I think could have suffered from injuries the most, it seems he avoided them the most also this year, which I will say, to his credit, that has not been the case the last couple of years for him. So he kind of had this coming. It's okay. Like, I'm all right with it. Like, he has been absolutely destroyed by injury the last 2 years. So, good on you, Michael.
Yeah, the biggest one for him was Breece Hall going out for the season, and then Chase going out for 4 or 5 games. But, he's got enough depth for one guy to be injured all year. So, I'm scared to face him.
Yeah, and this year I think he would probably be my second pick to win it, other than yourself, Phil. I think he's got the best, second best starting lineup, and even in next year's draft, even if he doesn't add a few pieces, he could easily be in playoffs again.
Mm-hmm.
Just one man's
very young too.
One man's opinion.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree with all that. The thing I don't agree with, unfortunately, is I was number 3 on our rankings, and I am sitting at 5 currently.
Half a point awarded. Close enough.
Well, you did.
Just out of the playoffs.
This was pre-season, so you had Kelsey and Devontae Adams on your roster at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So that might have been what did it, but
so here's the deal. I went 0-3 to start the season. That's when we made the trade. The trade was week 4. The trade.
Yeah.
We made the trade.
We made the trade.
When you decorated your tree. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, let's listen to some Treat after this. I'm 6 feet from the edge, and I'm thinking.
Wonderful.
You're welcome. And that's like, I always say, Jordan doesn't make moves to think for the future. I was 0-3, and I was like, psh, Adams, Kelsey, deuces. I'm going to go get a first-round pick, Pitts and Lawrence, and let's look to the future. But I got to win that next week, and then I decided, hey, I'll keep trying now.
Yeah.
I'm 1-3.
Yeah.
I'm not out of it. And scratched and clawed, thought I would make the playoffs, but alas, I did not.
Yeah. Barely.
Yeah.
Just barely.
But that's all right. I'm going to get the number 3 pick. But unfortunately, the team that made it in over me, Tanner, we had him at 2. He made the playoffs. Half point,
That's right.
at least, for that one. We really liked his roster. The big thing was depth, and he is going to need it, although his team has been getting incredibly beat up. Phil, you have probably been looking at his roster more than either Phil or I this week. What's up with his team?
So he belongs at number what we thought of in the preseason. He belongs up in the number 2 area. He all year has been getting just rocked. I mean, Saquon Barkley finally back to form. He's been good all year, pretty much. But obviously Jalen Hurts going out this next week. Well, him acquiring Jalen Hurts really got him up here as well in that trade. But him going out, terrible. Jonathan Taylor has been kind of beat up all year, terrible. CeeDee Lamb without Dak Prescott wasn't as good. And he's kind of just been boom or bust all year, kind of been up and down. But like his team is like looking at him, name value, it's an amazing team. It just hasn't been performing all year to what I think it could have performed, but he still made the playoffs. So good for Tanner to claw his way to the playoffs with all those injuries and stuff, but he's just gonna lose this week, so sorry, buddy.
Yeah, and to pile on the injury list, he got Olave's out this week, and Herbert is coming back, but yeah, losing Taylor, like you said, Phil, for the rest of the year, and he only really had Taylor for about 4 games this year. A player of that caliber not being part of it makes sense why he fell a couple spots, but he also, like you said, he made moves and he pivoted good enough to get that 4 spot, and definitely a team still with a good outlook on future years. So,
yeah, I think next year he's going to be a force. So,
Yeah, and speaking of a force next year, our team that we had at the top did not finish there, finished down in the 8th spot, but I stand by that number 1 spot. I still think this is one of the best teams in the league. Joe, Justin Fields has ascended, looks like he is incredible, and that's not even the quarterback we thought. We thought it was going to be Herbert. Herbert looks like he's taking a step back, but Fields looks amazing. Etienne has looked like if he gets to work, he can be awesome. And then, I don't know, he's got the A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Chris Godwin. It looks good for him, and I'm trying to look his picks. He has 2 first-round picks next year. I did not realize that, Phil. He has yours and his own. So he is not only looking at your pick, he is also playing for his own number 3 pick. So I think that's all of us. I want to take a really quick look to Jordan, also sitting on his own number 1 pick. So all of us in the consolation bracket are competing for our own pick. We are not competing for a pick that was traded. So I like that. That is nice. But
now
I like Joe's team. Joe's team is good. And with those picks, it's going to get better.
Yeah,
Yep,
if you were
absolutely.
to if you were to do another preseason ranking for 2023's next year, where would you have Joe? Would you put him at 1? Would you put him 1, 2, something like that?
I don't think I would put him 1. Just because
Maybe
I do see Dalvin taking a step back. I think I would put him. It'd be 3 or 4 for me. 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think. Okay.
I mean, I still feel like this league has turned out to be super competitive at every single every single person is competitive and can make the playoffs, can win a championship.
It
and it's
really-
only going to get better next year with Tyler's team. He's going to. I mean, we've still talked about Tyler's team. It's bad, but it has the right pieces. And when he drafts
I'm gonna get
Bijan, yeah, it's going to get better. It's just going to get every team's going to get better. So very competitive league. I love it.
Dude, I love it too, and it really, really is one of the most competitive, even leagues, and I love it. But that is us being reflective on the year, and at the end of the year, we always party, But before we get to the end of the year, why don't we three have ourselves a pizza party?
Love it.
I love pizza. What was that gesture there? Nick, do we want it?
That was Nick's happy dance.
That was the happy dance. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or his hungry
Please
dance. One
go
of the two.
back and, go
I
back
hope
and look at
Tanner's
that.
kid isn't watching this week. I lost last week. Cole won by, what did we just discuss? 0.3? You
0.3.
You pulled out in the win?
Mm-hmm.
So you will have a pizza coming.
Yeah.
But let's not worry about that. Let's just jump into it before we run too long. Quarterback, I went Geno. 5,800 against Kansas City. Spent down. He lost Tyler Lockett, so people are off him. I get it. But what Kansas City does is makes other teams' quarterbacks better because they have to throw to keep up. Seattle does not have a good defense. Neither does Kansas City, though, either. So I think Marquise Goodwin, DK can get some big plays. Ken Walker can move the ball with him. So I think Geno will still be productive enough to be worth 5,800.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's pretty good. I went a little bit lower at 5,700 with Aaron Rodgers against Miami. I think Miami's pass defense is terrible. Their passing offense is good. I think that can be a high-scoring game, and Rodgers can be very good that game. So,
And I spent $100 less. I went 5,600 for Daniel Jones playing Minnesota. We've all watched a lot of Vikings games this year, so we know how easily our defense can be beaten. So, I mean, as much as I don't want to see that happen, I'm going to project it to happen because it's been happening. So, and then at the running back spot, I spent up on one of these guys, Derrick Henry. He's been performing well on my team. He's playing the last-ranked fantasy defense for the running back position in a team that he is torched historically. So let's keep the flame going. He's playing the Texans. And then I got my second running back spot. I got Pacheco in that same game with Geno, and I just think if Kansas City does get out to the lead, they're going to bury him with the run.
Yeah, I also spent up in the running back position, going for Derrick Henry. And you're absolutely right. In his last 4 games against Houston, he has gone over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in every game in his last 4 games against them. Which scares me since I am actually going up against you, Cole.
Way to hedge your bet. Yep.
Yeah. in our consolation bracket. But then spent down at my second spot, Raheem Mostert. Green Bay's defense, they're going against Green Bay. Green Bay has a bad rushing defense. Mostert looked good, and 5,500 was a good price to pay down to after spending up for Henry.
yeah, and at my running backs, I spent down 5,900. So, with Jerick McKinnon, I think last week he got something crazy like 30 points or something, and Seattle's rushing defense
2 weeks in a row of
31st in
that,
the league.
basically.
Yeah, so if he gets in the end zone, there's a good chance. So, and then also I spent even more down at 5,000 with Zach Moss. The Chargers' defense has not been good. They're the 29th, 2 running backs, and Zach Moss actually looked pretty decent against a crappy defense last week. So, which is ours.
Ouch. Yeah.
So, so that's my running backs. And then at wide receivers, I spent pretty much 9,000 for Devontae Adams. I think he's going to be great.
Yeah,
Devontae
wide
Adams
receiver,
at 9,000, and then I went with Darius Slayton
DK
at 5,200
for 7,100.
going up against Minnesota's.
Went with that stack with Geno, right? So I figure if he's going to be tossing, got to keep up. DK's the big play guy to get it done. He was 7,100. And then I like Christian Watson against Miami. I think Green Bay is going to need to be able to keep up with Miami, and they do not have a good pass defense. Christian Watson can get it done at 6,000. And the terrifying start is Mr. I am terrified to say his name, DJ Moore for 5,500 against Detroit. Detroit is very, very bad against the pass, and DJ Moore is incredibly inconsistent, but he can be good. So that is my 5,500 at the wide receiver position. Phil, what were you doing in the wide receiver spot?
Yeah, so at wide receiver, I spent up $9,000 for Devontae Adams. He's against Pittsburgh. Terrible defense against receivers, and Devontae Adams is awesome. Been awesome all year. At 5,200, I went with Darius Slayton going up against Minnesota. I think he could easily get into the end zone. Just like Cole said, we're not very good when it comes to our defense. And then at 4,800, I went with the Hail Mary stack with Aaron Rodgers and Romeo Doubs. Or Dobbs?
Dobbs.
I believe. Kind of a Hail Mary play there. But he got like 5 targets last week. I think he could do something.
Hopefully. Yeah, should be more healthy this week too. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he was the number 1 receiving threat for Green Bay last week. So, and then for my wide receivers, I copied you, Phil. I went Devontae Adams. I know how great he's been doing. For 9,000 for 6,900. Nice. I went Chris Godwin playing Arizona. I feel like since Tampa Bay still has playoff opportunity, they're going to keep playing the best of their abilities, even though their abilities have been pretty lackluster. And then for my stack, for Daniel Jones as quarterback, I went Richie James Jr. at a minimal 3,900. Last week he had 4 catches, so I'm hoping for more than that.
There.
Yeah, yes. And then at tight end, flex, and defense, I'll just knock these out quick. Pat Freiermuth, the Muth, last week 0 catches. So 4,000. Maybe there's a couple catches in there that makes that 4,000 worthwhile. Flexing DJ Chark, playing Carolina, Detroit. Carolina's pass defenses average at best, and Goff's been playing very well lately. And then at the bottom for the defense, it's a bear market. It's the Chicago Bears, the cheapest defense, 2,000 on the week. Playing the Bills at home at least in a very ugly weather slated game. So my thought is, even if they don't score me a lot, maybe nobody scores a lot. So
some people just like to see the world burn, and that is what you are hoping for in that game.
Yes.
Yeah, my tight end flex and defense, I went 2,800 at the tight end spot. And guys, start your tight ends against Arizona. K. Dotton, 2,800. He's gonna put up 12 points.
Okay.
This week. Call him a shot. And then I flexed Jerick McKinnon for all the reasons that Phil said. And I also am starting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 2,700 against the Trace McSorley Red Arizona Cardinals.
Couldn't get a defense pun in there like Cole did.
I could not, but yeah, screw it. On to you.
Oh, man.
Come on, that was on a tee. That was on a tee, Nick. Go ahead, Phil. Sorry.
At tight end, 4,900, I went with T.J. Hawkinson. He's been a very vital part to our offense in Minnesota.
T.J. Droppinson, am I right?
Yeah, sometimes that can happen.
Sure.
in the flex position, I went with Garrett Wilson, who's actually playing right now. He only has 2.3 points, so I'm not happy about that. But what can you do? Zach Wilson's throwing on the ball. And then for my defense, I went with a bucking good defense, the Broncos, against the Rams for 3,500. And I think that's Broncos are a great defense. They can't put up points, but they can keep them away.
Heard that.
Yeah, I hope the Broncos do great. I am starting them this week. And that is the Pizza Party lineups. And I'm definitely going to keep going through playoffs and all this, right? I mean, why not? You know, let's keep our skin in the game here a little bit. But let's jump forward. Let's look quickly through what is happening this week in the playoffs. These are big games, so let's talk about them a little bit. You know, we're running a little long, but we got a lot to cover. It's the end of the year. We're looking back. We're being reflective. We're having a good time. And you know what? I love you guys.
Oh.
I do. So much.
I choked on my water. That's how much I love you, Nick.
Yeah, it's not the only thing you're going to choke on, if you know what I mean.
I love I love my fantasy league mates. Shout out to everybody.
Right. And let's get this one out of the way. Mm-hmm. Phil, you are playing Tanner.
That's right.
You are currently projected to beat him 140-1. Well, it was probably like 112 or something. 109 or something like that. We have a little preview. Zonovan Knight, at least at halftime, has only 3 carries and 1 reception against Jacksonville. They are down 3-13. So the game script does not look good for Mr. Zonovan Knight and Tanner. We've alluded to this the whole time. We can go through it if you want, but injuries have destroyed this team that was actually a very good team. I think you're going to win. I don't want to cover too much on it.
Yep, I agree. Sorry, Tanner. Better luck next year.
Okay.
Gosh,
yeah, that's
I'm
what we
gonna
really
hate if I lose.
Setting
God,
it
it
up
would be
perfect.
so great. It would be so great. But the other matchup, the other playoff matchup, no one going tonight, and this one is currently projected 122.8 to 123.1, and it's 0.84, so not even a projected 3 yards difference in these two teams. This is dead even in the projections, and we've got Ben versus Michael. And I'm looking at this lineup, and the first thing that jumps out to me right away, after everything Kirk Cousins has been doing for him, let's call it what it is. Tom Brady's been bad, guys.
He's been very bad.
And he's slipping him right into that starting lineup in the playoffs over on Michael's side, you know?
It's a bold move. You know, Kirk Cousins on the year, he's 8 overall quarterback, which is pretty good. Tom Brady's number 15, which is top half, barely. So
yeah, it's top 15.
Yeah,
I think the matchup for Brady this week's really good against Arizona. I mean, yes, Kirk Cousins has been having a better year, and Tom Brady's lost a lot of games. But for fantasy, he's still startable, and it's primetime Brady. It's a evening game, so look out. It's always dangerous.
Could be good. Could be good.
Yeah, that's where I touch on Otten.
Exactly. So no problem.
And then Ben flipped it over back to Burrow and Higgins in his lineup. I feel like
he's
this
gonna
is
hate me, but this is the week not to do.
What are they playing? Oh, New England, and Tutu's playing Green Bay. Man, yeah, that's tough. Shoot.
Ben's been the quarterback Nostradamus this whole year. I'm just gonna lean back and let him do it.
He's
been great.
True. Yeah,
yep.
He's done
He's
it.
been really good. Yeah, it's going to be a close matchup. I don't know who. I mean, it depends on Jefferson and Chase. If they go off, Mike wins.
What's amazing about this matchup, it not only is it a rematch from last week, but last week was also projected to be this close of a game. So it would be very fun to see this come down to a Monday night game where they each have, a player involved. I don't see any Monday slated, actually. So this game will be decided Sunday evening. Mm-hmm. But with many players going. So
right.
Okay. I'm going to walk you through a little storyboard here, right?
Okay.
What does New England do?
They take away the best threat, like Jamar Chase.
So
that means that opens it up for Higgins.
That means it opens up for T. Higgins. If that is what happens, it could be a very big game for Higgins. And if that stacks upon Joe Burrow, that could be very, very good for Ben this week. So, yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. DK, also only option in Seattle besides him and Marquise Goodwin, having to probably play catch-up against Kansas City, could have a massive game. And Diggs is Diggs against a bad Chicago. This is going to be a fun one, guys. This is going to be a wild ride.
This is going to be a really fun one to watch.
All right, and then over here in the consolation bracket, well, let's make a projection. We all said Phil's going to win. I'm going to go Ben. I'm feeling Ben.
You know
this one.
That Patriot narrative really sway. I was going Michael. It's that Patriot narrative that you were talking pushed me over to Ben a little bit. I think I'm still going to go Michael because that was my original gut feeling. But it's so close.
It is. Cole, where are you going?
I'm also going to lean Ben. Not by much. I'm just worried about, like you're saying, if they take away Jamar Chase and Higgins has any sort of a big game, it's decided right there. Because I don't see Peoples-Jones for Michael having a good week, although he has been the best catching threat the last 3 weeks. So I want to be proven wrong there again. And then also Wilson coming off an injury. So it's a little frustrating to try to pick this. I mean, I think I'm going to be wrong either way I pick it. If I pick Ben, then Michael will win, and if I pick Michael, Ben will win. But I'll lean on that, what we were talking about, And then Chubb, I think Chubb will have a decent week this week in playing the Saints.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be close. Now we got the consolation bracket, and ignore the matchups that we see in front of us here, because we see Jordan and Cole going up against each other, and me and Joe playing against each other. But what it in fact is Cole, you and I are facing each other this week because we finished 5th and 6th. And the 5th and 6th teams, one of us has to knock the other out and let one of the 7th and 8th spot teams win and have a chance at that number 3 pick. We did that so that one of the bottom teams always has a shot at the best pick, right? So, Cole, it's you and I facing each other. So if we look at this, current projections, 117 for me to your 109. And, Phil, you are the neutral party. What?
Oh, man.
What do you think here?
Fill us with wisdom.
The previous thought of within the pizza party with Derrick Henry comes to mind.
Yeah, it comes to my mind.
That's tough. I feel like that's going to be, well, now Hunter Renfrow, he could be fine. Gabe Davis, he could be fine, but they also have a decent, and Dotson, he could be fine too, but they also have a decent chance of not being fine. So I think Cole could blow up and win, but I give Nick the win on this one.
Yeah. You know what I'm terrified of? Is the weather in both Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Where I have Deontay Johnson and Amari Cooper. They could very easily put up huge stinkers. Also, Kenny Pickett coming back makes Deontay Johnson more poopy. But,
true.
God, I should have started Trevor Lawrence, huh? He's already got 14 points.
Yeah, he's
been good, dude.
He's the only offense right now, basically, other than some ETN yards and some Ingram yards.
I know, he has been
does he have a
good. I just
touchdown?
figured
He has a rushing touchdown.
rushing 5 carries for 40. He's got a little scamper in him.
Yeah, he's a lanky scamper boy.
He is. Yeah, I don't know. I hope I win. So
Speaking of lengthy scamper boys,
speaking of lanky scampers,
yeah, I think Nick wins.
there it is.
yeah, I pick
Jordan's going to go against Joe. Jordan's going against Joe. Well, I pick you, Cole. So, you know.
Oh,
Jordan versus Joe. I'm just going to say I think Joe's going to walk away with this one, and it's because we just haven't seen consistency out of Miles Sanders, and well, we know what's happening so far with Garrett Wilson and Christian Kirk. They are not doing well for Jordan, and like I said, I think Joe's team is actually very good, and we already see 10 points out of ETN at halftime in this game where they have the lead in Jacksonville, and I imagine he is going to get some more. So,
and it's
I
rainy.
lean Joe.
And the conditions are terrible for passing. So it's going to be a slugfest of just who can hand it off more in the second half, I feel like. And so maybe Wilson gets some garbage touchdown that makes his day salvageable, but I think ETN, yeah, he's going to get some more production here. Phil, where are you going?
I agree with both of you.
Sorry.
That's how we see.
Sorry, Jordan.
Yeah, sorry.
Next year's better.
That's what we see happening this week, and we'll see what plays out. Next week will be the championship in both the consolation and who's taking home that trophy. We will see. Will it be you, Phil? You have forever been the bridesmaid, never the bride. Is this the year? We'll find out.
Year, man.
We will find out, and that is where we're going to leave it. And I just got to say this. As your guys' commissioner, thank you so much for an incredible season. I love you guys. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's. This is it. Signing off from the Bog and Smog Fantasy Cast.